Honda Civic Type R review. Honda says there has never been a Type R quite like the subject of this road test, the 5th generation Civic Type R, which might be a little more helpfully classified as the performance version of the 10th generation Civic hatchback, itself introduced earlier this year. And this, the 25th anniversary of the introduction of the original Japanese-market NSX Type R, Honda has introduced a customary red badge Go Faster hatchback that has turned up only a couple of years after the previous one. It has a broadly similar front-wheel drive mechanical makeup to the previous version and a closely related engine, all of which might suggest, on paper at least, that it hasn't changed a great deal. In fact, the differences between this car and the 2015 Type R are many and varied, among them an all-new platform and chassis, new suspension and steering technology, a revised transmission and a completely different interior. The principal gains delivered for this Type R by Honda's new global compact platform, says the company, are to do with lowering the car's center of gravity and stiffening its superstructure, neither of which Honda provides specific comparative data for. But the new car's wider axle tracks do show up when you compare the new car with the old one on the specification sheet. This Type R has 65 mm of extra rear track width than its immediate forebear, and although its front track appears to have decreased by 6 mm, that's not accounting for the 20-in wheels and 245-section tires fitted to the new car, which make the overall front axle tread, measured from the outer edge of the wheel rather than the middle, significantly wider than on the old car. A tiny bit of weight has been saved, albeit only 2 kilograms overall. But let's not forget that the Civic is more than 15 centimeters longer than the car it replaces. The blank sheet of paper start enabled a more thorough suspension overhaul for this car than the last Type R had. The front wheels are controlled by dual-axis McPherson struts that get derivative-specific aluminum lower arms and knuckles. At the rear, the big change is the move away from a torsion beam in favor of a multi-link configuration, with all the benefits to body control and ride tuning that should bring. In a similar vein to the front, the Type R gets lighter, stronger rear lateral and trailing arms than the 10th generation common or garden Civic, as well as stiffened, lowered suspension rates. Above all of that, there's a new four-corner adaptive damping system with a broader spread of configurability on ride control. And so, unlike before, this Type R has a comfort driving mode, but it also has even stiffer damper settings than its immediate forebear for its default Sport and Track intended Plus R modes. The car's 2.0-liter single-scroll turbocharged engine is mostly as it was, but for a freer-flowing exhaust that has allowed Honda to turn up the boost enough to produce an extra 10 bhp without risking cooling problems or irregular combustion. In addition, Honda has shortened the final drive ratio of the 6-speed manual transmission by 7% for quicker and more responsive acceleration, and it has fitted a new single-mass flywheel that reduces clutch inertia by 25%. We are now on to the second generation of Civic Type R to feature a heavily turbocharged 4-cylinder engine rather than the atmospheric tech screamer of yore. The unit's 295 pounds-foot, delivered in its breathy, sucker-punch totality between 2,500 revolutions per minute and 4,500 revolutions per minute, remains unchanged from before, while power is now up to 316 bhp at 6,500 revolutions per minute. Anybody who anticipates a shortage of character and levity brought about by forced induction is in for a pleasant surprise. Honda has done a remarkable job in using an over-square cylinder design, that is, greater bore than stroke, to deliver an effervescent engine that rises to the occasion with every foray towards the 7,200 revolutions per minute red line. The claim is that this iteration of the company's VTEC variable valve timing system adjusts the degree of exhaust valve lift to reduce turbo lag. In truth, you'll still be acutely aware of its existence, the engine response exhibiting a pregnant pause following even a slight lift of the throttle. Although just how detrimental this is to the driving experience is arguable. The short, notchy throw of the 6-speed box, About as tactile as it gets this side of a Caterham, and the 2.0-liter engine's alarming enthusiasm for escalating crank speeds mean it's no chore to keep boost pressure high. Do so and the Civic Type R pulls viciously hard, seemingly with no dead spot at any point in the power delivery. As so often with overpowered hot hatches, accessing this level of performance requires an element of delicacy. Off the line, the engine will hold only 3,500 revolutions per minute before the clutch is re-engaged, and once on the move, it'll happily spin up the front wheels in its first 3 ratios. Through trial and improvement, in dry conditions, we managed a 5.7 seconds 0 to 60 miles per hour sprint, which is very strong, albeit not unprecedented, for a traction-limited high-performance front driver. Of greater interest is the Civic's 0 to 100 miles per hour time of 12.5 seconds and, to pick one of several eye-widening in gear figures, a fourth gear 70 to 90 miles per hour time of just 3.6 seconds.